Hey everybody, how's it going? Oh, my neck. Andy Warhol says I'm hanging best as I can. That's good. As long as you're hanging in there. Where are my moderators? I see Ryan. What's up, Ryan? And me and Ryan are going to be doing at some point we're trying to coordinate it to where we can do the Wendigo episode. Y'all need to pressure Ryan into getting it done. Force him. Use force. Use the force. Where's the Patreon at here? Okay, so Patreon, we got Del Crass, Mimi Piccolelli, Polly G, Melissa Koyman, Pauline Rome, Joanne Hartnett, Leighton, Mary Plyler, Stephen Hall, Miguel Guerra, Tommy Egan, Eric Garcia, Ryan Super Hornet 1, Debbie Wolf, Extreme Reality Check, Histotech, James Estrada, Tim Renard, Ricardo Herrera, Barry Titan, Dead Man Walking, Guy, Don Wells, Melissa Panay, Derek Tribble, Andrea Krask, Shannon, Joyce Brunette, Barbara Blendy, Martin Hertel, Terry Fusler, Sir Cuffers of the Valley of Tequaches. Okay. All right. Curtis Turner, Philip Horn, Alexander Murphy, Matthew Durgo, Chris Smith, and Ralph Ayu. Okay. So. Russ Harmon, thank you for that generous donation. I think everybody likes to feel like they're a good guy. They're a good person, even when they're not. I like to feel like I'm a good person. I try to be. My mom used to tell me I was a good person. But unfortunately, there's some people who are not enamored with me. And those people are called haters. And unfortunately, they have a voice. And this past week was rough. They were in full force this past week. I was getting ripped up on Dogman Believable Evidence group. But they're good people too. And then, of course, the DER comment section was just blasting me up and down because of one guy in particular just kept bringing it up, like talking about me. I don't know what his deal is. Guess I was just a popular guy to be disliking this past weekend. But that's fine. When you got people hating you, you're doing something. Did they notice? Can't please everyone. Some of the comments though, were just funny. You know, some of the people, I don't know if they really believe what they're posting or if they just think that, I mean, I don't know. It's funny to think about because you kind of start going like, do these people really believe this stuff or are they just, you know, taking their shots, trying to fit in with the other haters, you know? It's really funny. So what we have right now, PRT, let's start it here. PRTpodcast.com, Josh Turner at PRTpodcast.com. That's my email address. PRTpodcast.com is the website. We have the shows there. We also have a Patreon, like I just announced. So if you're interested in that, let me know. You can join and become a member, and you can help out through a monthly donation. It's like donate whatever you want. If you donate $10, and we have a deal where if you donate $10 for 3 months, then we give you something. So I like to be able to take care of my fans. For those of you, other than Chris Clough and Curtis Turner, I already know you two. I have you down. I haven't forgotten. Okay. You guys are always in the fan page with Phil Stern making stuff, silly memes and stuff of Barton and me and Ryan and whoever. It's pretty funny. And they're not the only ones, there's some other people doing it too, but I haven't forgotten about you guys. And Melissa Panay, I already got yours. And as you can see, this is one of the colors that we have available in the store. We are the new colors. They're all in there, I believe. Are all the colors in there now, Anthony?
Yeah.
Okay, so all the colors are in there now. We just gotta. We just got to get the hoodies done. And the hoodies should be ready by tomorrow. We'll have all that done. And we ordered new hats, different types of hats. So with the new hats, some people wanted white. We made them a black front with white on the sides, and it's gonna be the white logo. I believe the white logo on the trucker hats, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's gonna be a white logo. People were asking for that. I had several people ask for that, so that's what I did. And we also are making a special toboggan for the red, the hand logo. We're gonna have about 10 of those to start off with and see how they do, and then we have 10 special. I call them toboggan. They're beanies, whatever you want to call them. Hood, little caps for your head to keep you warm. And then 10 of the white logo. I thought it looked pretty cool. We kind of previewed it. And then we're going to have some camouflage hats. Now, those are going to be special limited edition giveaways. And if you guys respond to those camo hats, the camouflage caps, then I might make a huge order of them and then give those away for Christmas giveaways. We're going to do a lot of giveaways for Christmas. I'll be up at the postal annex where I do my shipping probably quite a bit. Ken Gerhard was telling me the other day, he goes, you know how much I spent last year in shipping? I think he said $1,600. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm up to about $6,000 this year. So take that, Ken. So he's going to go run and tell him that I was talking trash. Oh, yeah, Josh Turner is saying really bad things about you, Ken. You better go check it out. He said you just weren't putting a lot of money into shipping. So every time I say anything, it becomes a big conflagration. I want to address that too. Some of the comments that were being made were quite humorous. It's funny because they said I'm always beefing with someone. No, I'm always beefing with the same people. It's not me fighting with everyone. There's just about half a dozen people. A few of them are all in one little cabal, one little clique together. And then the other one is, somebody asked me the other day, they said, do you feel stupid now that you made a mistake, that you attacked this individual? I said, no, he attacked me. I keep telling you that. I keep standing by that. He started it. I did not start it. That was not what happened. And the things that were coming out of those people's when they were typing, I was sitting there going like, are you serious? Like, I'm jealous that he wouldn't promote me, so I got mad and attacked him. It was all me attacking him for absolutely no reason because I was jealous. And I was like, like the Hot Pocket gang are the most delusional people I have ever met. I mean, I'm not kidding. Being in the different industries that I've been in and things that I've done, I've been around fighters with egos as big as Dallas. That don't even. I'm not going to throw names out there, but I know one or two in the fight community here who have really done nothing. They've had pro careers that were really bad, and they think that they're just you owe them some sort of respect because they got in there and got their self beat up a bunch. And I'm just like, that's crazy. I don't owe you anything. And then you have people, you know, I used to lift weights with, they're power lifters and bodybuilders, and they have egos, you know, and they're like, oh, look at me, and you're going like, wow, these people just really worship themselves. And I see a couple of them every now, like once in a blue moon, I'll run into one of them, and they're just not looking too good. They did a lot of roids, and they look deflated. Not all of them. I saw one of my friends the other day, and shout out to him, Chris Dorman. He was one of my mentors in weightlifting years ago. Big guy, great guy, nice guy. I saw him at Sam's, and still looks good, you know. But there's some people I've run into him, and you're just going like, geez, what happened? They quit using the steroids, and they came back down to reality. They look terrible. I mean, they just look absolutely awful, you know. I'm not the best looking guy in the world, but I'm not you, thank goodness. And you still have an ego. Like the ego doesn't go away. Like all these things happen to you to break your ego down, and you're still up there acting a fool. But and in the security business, it's very cutthroat. I mean, you got people that will literally, I don't know, I've never encountered this actually happening, but I've heard of it many times, that people will go to your job sites and steal or vandalize to get you fired so that they can take your contracts. I can't prove that that's ever happened to us. I suspect it has, by a former person that used to work with us. And some people told us that he did that to us. Well, we never caught him, so I can't say 100% that he did. And I'm not going to accuse somebody if I don't know for sure. The circumstantial evidence, yeah, I can say, yeah, he probably did. And they're very cutthroat. And so you deal with this kind of stuff. But in this community, cryptids, paranormal, UFOs, whatever, it's so backbiting and so cutthroat, and it's so blatant, it's so prevalent. Because, and I'll tell you what it is, it's because you can hide behind the computer. You know, unless you run into somebody at a conference, you don't have to answer for what you've done. You can, you know, say any number of horrible things and just, you know, but I want to thank someone publicly for what she did. Well, they were in there jumping on me, tearing me apart, and some of their comments did get removed because they definitely crossed the line. And they got reported, obviously, because some of their comments got taken down. But this person actually went in there and she defended me. Her name was Felicia Gradowski. And Felicia, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give you whatever I can find in here to ship to you as a token of my appreciation, because you went in there and you stood alone, because there were a few other people that were listeners that really didn't do anything. They just kind of sat there on the sidelines, you know, and these people were talking, just spewing venom. I mean, it was absolute lies. One guy in particular, this kid, they were like kids, you know, young people. And he was just talking mad trash, man. I mean, he was just saying, you know, all these things that weren't true, talking about my 2 episodes on that show. And I'm like, 2? Try 13, dude. You know? And then he goes, whatever, in the big scheme. I was like, well, when I first went on that show, the guy had like less than 15,000 subscribers. Now he's got 80. And some of my shows got 160, 170,000 views. So, I mean, you do the math, you know, and then Marvin came along and added to his too. So, you know, the guys over there talking about how this guy made me and did all these things. No, he didn't. He didn't even support me. So when I was not forthcoming, you know, there was obviously a problem, and I just said I wasn't going to work with them anymore because people were going on that show and lying, and I knew they were. So I was like, I'm not going to support that. And when I was asked on my show, and I was asked in private, and I told these people, no, I'm not going to go, not going to do it anymore. That became an issue. Then he made a really nasty post on the day my mother died, which people keep claiming doesn't exist because he took it down pretty quick, but we have the screenshots. And then I responded by quitting, which was stupid because a bunch of people reached out to me. There were big names in this business too that actually reached out to me. I say business, community, whatever you want to call it. It's a business to him. But they were like, don't quit. And some of these people proceeded to tell me about the problems that they had with this individual, which were pretty long and numerous. There were a lot of issues. He's had a lot of fights with people. Amazingly, though, he's always the good guy. He never says anything. He never does anything. No, he just had legal sparring with like a dozen people. So, you know, these are not nobodies either in this field. So what you end up with his gang of fools, you know, are some of the most vile people. I mean, they just spew the most ridiculous. The mental gymnastics it takes to get to that point is hard to fathom because they don't really know what the situation is. They're just going along with, like one guy even was on there in the comment section because I got sent screenshots and he was on his last video and he was like, oh, was he bad mouthing, you know, VC? Oh, well, okay. Then I don't like him either. It's like going because somebody said it, you know, and I'm like, okay, that's all it takes. But yeah, if you want to be a lemming and not do any of the research, and you know, and nowadays there's, you know, time is limited. There's so much going on. Everybody's so freaking busy. At least if you're like me, you don't really have time to sit there and put a lot of energy and effort into researching this. I keep saying this, you know, because I want it to be true so bad, but it doesn't make it happen. I want people to start waking up and see these things for what they are, and to come to the people that are actually trying to tell you the good stuff. You got the guys like Wes and me and Tony. I mean, like Tony Merkel, Wes Germer, Jason Bland. You know, you got guys who are doing good work. They're good podcasters. They're putting out their good quality products. You know, you got some other guys that are unsung, like Bettina Moss and Tom Cardos. They have shows. You got Paul Sinclair. You know, he's got a good product, a good show. You know, you got guys that do good work, gals. You know, guys and gals. And then you have people like that. And I mean, everybody's gravitating toward this, you know, nonsense. And what he does every now and then, he'll throw you a bone and be like, oh, this person was lying, so I chose not to put them on the air. Dude, that's just his excuse so he can put a rerun on there. I worked with this dude for 6 years. And so when I try to tell y'all are just like, no, I don't believe this guy. I don't believe him. He wouldn't do that. He comes out and he talks like, hey, and he lulls us to sleep. Chip, chop, chip. End of discussion. So, you know, you believe what you want. Listen to his bullcrap. I don't even know what this last video was. They were just it was a bit of controversy because the guy's voice was changed or something, and it sounded like something out of a storybook. I mean, some people's stories sound like that. They just do. I've been told some crazy stories, and I just repeat them, say, here you go. But, you know, it's up to you. You believe it or you don't. It's, you know, you do what you want to with it. But to get on there and tell your own story and make it sound like an action movie, you know, I mean, you got to know that's probably not correct. You know what I mean? It's like, use your, but if it's just entertainment and that's what that's what your deal is, and that's cool. But he also, a few weeks back, came out and said, this isn't entertainment, people. I'm trying to help these people. This isn't a nightclub up in here. I don't want you saying things like you get your scare on and this is entertainment, for your, and I'm going like, that's the big problem. If you just come out and be like, hey, you know what? You're just here to be entertained. If these people are telling the truth, great. If they're not, they're not. It's just entertainment. Let's all admit to what it is. Then that wouldn't be such a problem. I probably even would have been willing to work with him and go back on his show, which is what he wanted. That's absolutely what he wanted. Let him deny it. Okay? He wanted me to come back again and again and again. And I said publicly I wasn't going to, and that was an issue. So, I have my own thing to do. And after that, there was a problem. I brought some information to him. I said, these people are not telling the truth. And he absolutely knew that they weren't. And he put them on there. That's what happened. And so, all I can do is sit here and laugh because I can't believe that people would sit there knowing that and then him tell you that he's not doing it for entertainment. And you're going like, what in the hell are you doing it for then? Why the hell are you doing it? Because that's what this is. It's absolutely entertainment. Yes, people are afraid and they have encounters and they have things like that, but we are not licensed therapists. I am not your therapist. I am not a psychiatrist, although I did take some psychology and, so what? That doesn't give me the abilities to bring you on there. So tell me, do you often seem to whistle just for fun? Who the hell am I to sit there and ask, to try to give you therapy? I mean, this guy, does he have a degree in that? What is that? I don't get what he's doing. He's so phony that he's actually sitting there telling you that he's like a therapist and you're buying into it. And it's, I guess to me and the normal people are going like, are you serious? Because it's no, you're not. You're not a therapist. In fact, you're not even a good guy. I should know. I dealt with you for a long time, way more than I care to admit. And I've been asked a hard question. They're like, well, why did you hang with them for so long? And that's a hard one to answer because it makes me, if what I'm telling you is true, it makes me look bad, right? Because I thought we were friends. And I thought, well, it's kind of like that song, all my friends are heathens, take it slow. Don't make any sudden moves. I've kind of lived my life around people that are kind of, you just got to kind of keep them at arm's length. When he would say the things he would say, I was just kind of like, I'm not really feeling that vibe, but, hey, it is what it is. It's your thing. You know what I mean? Do what you want to do. I know that when he says that he's playing y'all. That's part of his spiel, which to me, like I said, if he was willing to come out and just say, hey, this is just for entertainment, this is just bullcrap, like Luke Penton. Okay. We'll take Luke. He's a good friend of mine. I like Luke. I love Luke. He's a good guy. Dead Man Walking. He's got his own channel. Luke has fictional stories that come out on his channel. And they're good. There's some good ones, man. Like I've listened to a few of them. And I'm like, dude, that's cool. But you're listening to fiction. It's entertainment. It's just for entertainment. That's what he's doing. He's entertaining you. And he says it, Look, it's just for entertainment. All right. It's not real. And I'm telling you, it's not real. And you got to understand that. That's my imitation of you, Luke. I hope it's... But, yeah, you're over here going like, hey, oh man, that's a crazy story there, Mr. Blackburn. I hope that you, oh really? Oh my God, that must have been awful. I can't imagine what that must have been like, like, you got to sit there and go, okay, where's Ashton Kutcher? Am I being punked here? Some of those interviews I did too, I think he took off and made a sandwich with me too. He was just gone. I'd say something and he wouldn't respond. So I don't even know where he was at and what he was doing. I think he ran to the hardware store or something. I don't know. But well, it is what it is. But I had a rough week. Rough weekend. I had a rough day. Had one of my guards get snippy with somebody at one of our biggest accounts. That wasn't good. It wasn't pleasant. And had another one not doing their job and get things stolen. That's not good. I had more butt chewings by noon than most people have in a month from clients. Because when you have your own business like I do, everyone's your boss. You have a bunch of clients. And that's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's part of the, but it wears you down psychologically, especially when you got like a millennial 24-year-old telling you, are you stupid? Are your guards like stupid? I said lock up the pool and there were like 45 people in the pool. Really? There were 45 people in the pool? What? Yes. Are you stupid? That was one of my clients. Not recently. This happened a few months back, but I was like, wow. It'd make you want to goggle Drano. But yeah, that's what I go through. You gotta be called stupid because your guards don't do what they're supposed to be doing. So those of you who've been praying for my wife and her surgery, it's been pushed back. Hopefully it'll go well. That's all I can say. It's about 2 weeks. So now I have to wait and be stressed out about that. Those of you who are expecting packages and things like that, I didn't get to make it to the mail today. I was trying hard, but I couldn't do it. And those of you who did receive things and you posted them, thank you. That was pretty cool of you to post them. I like that. That's neat. It's kind of a little tradition now. People get their stuff. Here's what happened. I did a theme the other day, okay? It was down and out, go down and out, go down and out. I know it sounds ridiculous doing it, but it is the theme. That's what I did. And Jim Kovac, Dean Cooling, you were second. You came a close second. But Jim Kovac got it first. He put it on there and he was like, bam, I heard it. It was Magnum PI. Magnum PI. It was from a Facebook Live post. I know how many of you don't like Facebook and you ignore me when I'm on Facebook. Shame on you because you miss out. Because I did a giveaway. So, Jim, I don't know what I'm going to send you yet, buddy, but I'm going to send you something. I got something for you. I think you sent me, send me your shirt size. So I'm going to see what I got. It says it's an extra large. I'm going to see if I got the extra larges in here. As soon as the show's over, I'll get right on that. But I thought that was fun. I couldn't remember the show. I was like, it's some 80s show, and it was Magnum PI. And then Dale Crass was the one that won the giveaway for the book this past show. Paul Wallace. I don't have Paul Wallace's books, nor do I have the other Paul Sinclair. I don't have Paul Sinclair, Paul Wallace, and I'll tell you why. Money. I am willing to pay for the shipping of these books, but they have to get them, and then they have to sign them and then send them to me. So it's a very expensive undertaking getting anything shipped to or from Australia or from the UK. It's crazy. It's just super expensive. So that's a problem. That's, I did tell you guys I was going to talk to you about some UFO stuff, and I'm going to. I had some reports over the weekend. I got a couple weird things that happened. I was having a good weekend, but I was just so tired. I was like, I couldn't stay awake, dude. I felt like a robot on Ambien. I felt like that other co-host or that other talk show host. What I was gonna do is talk about that, but I wanted to ask your opinion. I have an author who is going to come on and talk about her experiences in a haunted house. Or I can tell you about the UFO stuff I had that happened over this weekend that kind of blends in with something else from the past. We can do whichever one you want to do first. We can hit the UFOs, aliens, whatever, or we can do the haunted house, haunted stuff, whatever. So I'll let you decide. You want to say hi? Can you close the door? My wife's here, the studio. Somebody said haunted stuff, UFOs, haunted house, UFOs, UFOs, haunted stuff, aliens, terrify me. Aliens first, aliens, author, please. Happy to hear either one first. So okay, we'll do this. We'll just go ahead and call the author. Because it looks like more people wanting to hear what that person has to say. And they are a guest, and I don't want to be rude. So let me give her a shout.
Hello.
Hi, Lee. Are you there?
Hello, Wolf.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine this evening. Thank you. How are you
I'm
doing?
good. How about yourself? You're doing staying busy?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you, but the folks I can hear you, but I don't know if the folks at home can hear you. Can y'all hear her? I want to make sure. Go ahead and speak, Lee.
All right. So, what my book is about, my book is called The Terror by Night, Not Flesh or Blood, and it's published by Lulu Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And this book encompasses a decades-long journey. I found out that absolute good and absolute evil do exist.
Cool.
And I have had experiences with across the full range of the spectrum. The Holy Trinity of God, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the Holy Spirit, human spirits, and demons. And the battle between good and evil is very real. No one is a mere onlooker sitting on the sidelines. The battle involves each one of us and uses our lives and talents for either good or evil, with the ultimate prize being us.
When you say the ultimate prize being us, you mean that you're referring to spiritual warfare that's being waged by the heavenly realm against Satan and his minions. That's what you're referring to, and the prize being our souls. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
And and our lives and our time and our talents, because those things can be used for good or they can be used for evil.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're kind of born neutral, and it just depends on what you choose to be a conduit for. Is that your opinion? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So, Lee, you wrote
And
this book
also,
because you had a lifetime of experiences, and a lot of it revolved around living in a haunted house. Am I correct? Or was it? Are you more of a haunted person? Because there's haunted people, and then there's haunted houses. So, I mean, I was wondering, like, what do you feel like? What category do you fall into? Do you fall into the category of a person that experiences from living in a haunted house, or do you feel like you yourself are a haunted individual?
well, I'm no longer a haunted individual. I've had 2 deliverance ministries done. But I would say the house and the property were haunted also.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a situation of somebody moving into a house. My parents bought a piece of land that had a barn on it and had a well, and they built a house. And almost immediately things started happening. That this was in 1968, before I was born. Our family was also the target of Satanists, I think. And I want to go back to my first experience with the haunted house, which actually I wasn't even at my house. I was being babysat by my grandmother at my grandmother's house. I was 15 months old and taking a nap on a bed in a back bedroom. And when I could just barely, I had just barely woken up, and I felt a presence that was not my grandmother. It was a big, black, strange cat crept into the bedroom. And I knew I've been a cat person all my life, and I knew all the neighborhood cats in town. Grandma had Sim, the Siamese cat. Her neighbors owned a big orange cat. But there were no black cats in the surrounding area. And it did not have a normal appearance. It was solid black, yet it was shiny, and it seemed to be glowing with an eerie aura. And Christmas tree is what I thought. It was glowing like a Christmas tree. And it had topaz eyes. And the eyes were fixed on me, and it was stalking me as if I were a bird or a baby rabbit. And it straddled my body and bent its face over mine and peered in my eyes as if to devour me. And it began to suck the life breath out of me. And I had to fight to take my breath back. I screamed a very strangled scream because the cat was sucking the breath out of my body. And my grandma came running. She said, "I can't have a cat in here with a baby." She turned to the cat and pointed and yelled, "You get out of here." And the cat didn't want to give me up. And my grandma raised her arm to swat the cat, but it ducked and it avoided her. And it very reluctantly left when she began to chase it out the kitchen door. And then my grandma noticed that the door was unlocked, and she said, "Thought I locked that." Because she had been keeping everything unlocked since she had been burglarized a few months before that.
And you said that this was a black cat?
It was a black cat.
I apologize
But
for
it was
that. I think that
lit.
was my cat. I
It
think he
was
got out. I think Nellie let him out that day. I'm sorry.
it was lit like a Christmas tree.
I'm messing with you, Lee. So you said its eyes were glowing?
Well, it was glowing. The eyes were topaz.
Oh my gosh. The cat itself was glowing?
The cat itself was glowing like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. And you
The
said,
fur
how
was
big was, somebody just
glowing.
asked the question right when I said it, Madeline Chap, how big was the cat?
I was little. I was 15 months old, and it straddled my body to where all four of its legs were on either side of my body, and I was completely pinned underneath.
And let me ask you this. You said this happened when you were 15 months. Do you remember this?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And I actually have PTSD from the experience. And yes, that is a cat you hear. He has to stay in that bedroom. He's staying in a spare bedroom because that one's not allowed to be in my bed.
Why?
I can have cats as pets, but I can't stand them in my bed
Oh.
because of this experience.
I don't like my cats on my bed because they climb top of my head while I'm trying to sleep, but that's neither here nor there. The thing is, that's a very terrifying experience. I couldn't imagine like going through that when you were 15 months and then you remember that. Now
Yes.
people would at home would go, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That's not." I was talking at almost 11 months ago. People at home are like, "Well, yeah, we know you never stop." But I was talking in complete sentences, and this is one thing my parents actually told my wife. She can attest to this. She was in the studio. I guess she's not. But anyway, she can attest that my parents told her that I was talking when I was like 10, 11 months. But it's weird because most people don't develop memories, especially now. I mean, it's with the younger generation. I don't know what their deal is. They don't have memories till they're like 10 or 11. Like everything before that is just they don't remember it. It's just weird. I don't know what is going on with that. But I've heard all kinds of different theories about why the millennials don't have memories from when they were children. I know that you having that memory is not as unusual from your generation because I know people from your generation, our generation, whatever, they go back, from when they were like 2 years old. They can remember things. I remember falling off of a horse named Chance when I was 2. It's one of my earliest memories. But I know that I was talking. I never had baby talk. I never did baby talk. So it's not it's not so far fetched and weird that you had this experience when you were 15 months and you remember it. But you said, so that was your first experience. What happened after that? Was there another one that happened after that, just going in order?
Yes, the next experience happened when I was 4 months old, and my cousin was present, and our parents were also present. The carnival had come to town, and my parents and my aunt and uncle and grandmother were there, and we looked at the Ferris wheel. Oh, too dangerous for kids, they said, and we found a ride that was little boats that were on a track, and the track was barely moving. And I sat on my cousin's lap. We got on this ride. I sat on the boats on the track. I sat on her lap, and it was barely moving. It had not even made it around the circle once. And then the ride got really fast, and the boat came off the track, and I was going through the air. I thought, wow, this is a really good ride. Because that's what you think when you're 4. And I landed face down on concrete. My cousin landed on top of me, and the boat landed on top of both of us. And I was on the bottom.
Okay, and you were at a fair?
Yes, it was in town. It was the carnival.
And what do you think caused this?
I think it was an evil force trying to kill me.
And why at that early age do you think it was trying to kill you?
Why was it trying to kill me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it tried to kill me a bunch of times.
But this is your earliest time, like up to this point, you had the cat
Right.
incident, and then this was the second incident, right?
Right. So the cat tried to suck the air out of me and try to kill me. And this one tried to kill me by crushing me.
And it makes more sense because it just continued. So what happened after this?
It amped up as I got older. As to why it tried to kill me, I had a great aunt that was a deaconess in the United Methodist Church. We were church-going folks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that may have been a problem. And I think sometimes that, like, devil worshippers just like to fight Christians.
Yeah,
and like
I agree.
I said, the house here was haunted. And my parents, on a teacher's salary, bought a piece of land, okay? So it had to be a cheap piece of land, I figure. And they built a house and stuff happened. And when I was having the deliverance ministry done, they took out the spirit of death, torture, torment, and intrusion. So I think it was the spirit of death trying to kill me.
And these were oppressive spirits. That was their
Those
calling
were
card.
oppressive spirits.
Yeah.
And they got rid of torture, torment, and intrusion. Those ones went away. The spirit of death took the longest to leave, and he argued with the preacher. And when I was getting the deliverance ministry done in 2017, he was saying the spirit of death was saying in my head, "She's mine, she's mine, she's mine."
I want to comment on that real quick, Lee. One of the things that I wanted to explain to people, and I had this question posed to me not too long ago. Somebody asked me, why would a demon be called whatever oppressive name it goes by? And I've had the simple answers given that, well, it's because each demon has a job, and that's what that demon's job is. That sounds good on paper, but I don't really buy into that as much as I believe that the spirit of whatever is upon you is something that's inherently in you. Okay. And it comes to the surface as being drawn out by a parasitic type entity. And this is actually something I talked with Jason Bland a little bit about, like off air, about how these entities are parasitic, and what they do is they draw upon a weak point. If they find a weak point in you, mine was like anger and violence and getting into fights, things like that. They draw upon that and they feed on that. And that becomes their source of energy, so to speak. And so they become, that's literally what the spirit of oppression is upon you. You're literally these demons, that's what they're drawing upon. I believe that they're just like we are. I mean, they have minds and their consciousness, and they have egos and whatever. And I'm not here to talk about them or whatever and get all sidetracked, but just explain to what Lee was going through and what I think you were going through. I believe that these demons latch on to a weak point. If you feel suicidal, if something's really bad, you get really depressed, they can latch on to a suicidal tendency or a feeling that you have, and they can engulf you or encapsulate you in that feeling of hopelessness, to where you eventually you give yourself up, your life, whatever. And I do believe that when you were delivered, as you say, and one of them was death, it wasn't literally death itself. It was a demon that was trying to kill you. That was what it was doing. It was using death. And so when it spit that out to the ministers, or whether it did or it didn't, sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you can just see it in your mind's eye. I have seen spiritual people in bondage being freed or delivered from a spirit. And when we had our eyes closed, we were praying. I saw what this thing looked like. I could still, with my eyes closed, sit here and see it. It was an oppressive spirit, and it had claimed someone. And when I asked the others around me what they saw in their mind's eye, they saw exactly the same thing I did. I don't think it was a mass hallucination between several people. All of whom I knew all these people very well. But it does happen. And so these spirits that were upon you, they were taking from you, they were parasitic, and one of them actually was trying to kill you. The other ones were doing whatever they were drawing upon, the weak points that they found in you, or they created themselves to feed, kind of like vampiric entities. And I believe that that's what was happening to you. I'm not telling you 100% because I'm not, I'm no expert in any of this, but this is what I believe. If that makes any sense, I don't know if people can understand what I'm trying to say here, And somebody says, Mark says this woman is talking BS. 15 months old. Like I just explained to you about being young. And there are people who have memories from when they're really, really young. They're little bitty children. I know that I and my wife both have discussed having memories from being very, very young, at a very young age. So, it's not.
But why would it try to attack a baby? And also, my mother, when I was a kid, I was kind of into ghost stories, and my mother, I said, Mom, have you ever seen a ghost? And she said, yes. In 1973, I saw a big black thing come up in the basement. And I'm only going to say this once, so listen up, she said. And she said, never ask me again, because she was so freaked out. And if you think about 1973 being when Roe versus Wade was passed and made into law, it would coincide with the time that my mother saw the big black thing in the basement. And now looking back in retrospect, I think what she saw was the spirit of death. And the spirit of death was like, hello, I am here to take your next child.
And so you think that this spirit was something that was attached from your mother?
Well, there are some different entry points. The property was one entry point because there was actual child sacrifice going on this property.
When was this?
Hundreds of years ago.
Okay, so it was something that you uncovered this, or you believe it, or
the
you
Deliverance
saw it?
The Deliverance team felt a great oppression near the barn and the well. And I did not go and investigate things. My mother had the well filled in a few years before this.
And it's not a very popular idea, and it's not a very cool or hip idea to think about, but there was a lot before the Europeans came to this continent. There was a lot of warfare that went on. There was a lot of death. There was a lot of violence and a lot of sacrifice, and it went on, and it was intertribal warfare. And there was a lot of different types of civilizations that rose and fell. And there was a lot of sacrifice that went on. I mean, the Vikings did it. The natives here did it. The Celts did it. I mean, it's just a fact. I mean, it happened. And the Aztecs did it on a huge scale. I mean, they did things that were just, unfathomable. And I've had people tell me that actually one in particular, that they lived in Mexico City, and they lived really close to what they found ruins. That like the literally the floor will cave in sometimes when they're doing renovations in Mexico City, and they'll find the remnants of temples. It's happened multiple times, and they found just bodies. I mean, were like the bones of thousands of skeletons. I argued with someone one day who said that it was all Spaniard propaganda that they never did all those things. I said, dude, archaeologists would argue otherwise. One of my friends is an archaeologist, and he was down there, and he did a lot of Mesoamerican archaeology, and he was like, it's unfathomable the amount of, and I was just going by what him and his team told me, the sacrifice that took place. And it wasn't just, and then I had somebody tell me, well, they just did it to their enemies. No, they didn't. They killed their own citizens. They killed children. They actually, there's one that Anthony and me had talked about. I can't remember what the ceremony's called. And Anthony had mentioned it one day, where they had to hit the children with rocks to make them cry because their tears would cause rain. Is that correct, Anthony? About the Aztecs? You got the mic right there. You can tell them what it is. Anthony can explain it to you real quick.
What were you talking about?
About the Aztecs making the children cry.
Oh, yeah. What they would do is they would like throw rocks and inflict pain and just like be mean to children on their way to the sacrifice altar because they believe that that the more tears that the children shed and the more upset they were, that the more it's like the more worthy of a sacrifice they would make to their whatever their false demon gods they worshipped were, and that would therefore please him more and bring the rain or whatever nonsense they believe.
And they had to cry.
Yeah, like they had to be terrified, they had to cry, like they had to be in that heightened state of emotion, and so they would they would basically like torture them emotionally on their way to be sacrificed.
Somebody here in the comments section says something very interesting to you. Thank you, Anthony. To you, Lee. It says here, maybe her soul was promised to a dark entity. 39 Shawnman. Do you feel like that? Before I say anything else about that, do you feel like that could have been the case?
Well, I know that on my mother's side of the family, my maternal grandmother had played with a Ouija board because it was the thing to do when she.
You're breaking up really bad.
Oh, I am?
Yeah. And Kingston says the Aztecs had a game like basketball. It was actually the Mayans that did that. And it was almost impossible to get the ball through the little hole. And if you didn't do it, then you died. But yeah, the Mayans were not, they were a very unpleasant bunch too. But go ahead, Lee. You said your grandmother played with a Ouija board?
Yes.
Do you feel like that?
According to our the Deliverance minister, he indicated that that's probably what caused the problem. It was the thing to do back many years ago, and Ouija boards are gaining in popularity again now. When I was 8 years old and at my grandmother's, I had stayed home sick from school, and I was getting a board game, and I got one we had never played before, and it was Ouija. And my grandmother was in the bathroom using the bathroom. She said, just go get a game. And so I got it, and I set the board up, and I remember grabbing the planchette, and it moved without me moving it. To nonsense. And my grandmother walked out of the bathroom and saw me and said, put that back. It's very dangerous. So I'll always wonder what happened with my grandmother and the Ouija board and why she even kept it around.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it wasn't too of an unpleasant experience to keep it. When she died,
all of those games went to somebody else, and the house that they went to burned down. The next thing that happened after the ride was when I was 5. There were 2 shadow men in my room. It started out with one shadow man. He had a top hat. And I screamed, and all I could say was monster, because that's all you know when you're 5. And my mom came in and said, "Oh, it's okay. You're okay." And then she turned the light back off. And then the second shadow man came back. So then there were 2 of them. And I screamed, "Monster, monster, Mommy, he goes away when you turn on the light." And the light stayed on through high school. And after the visit from the shadow man, I became sick with things the doctor could not diagnose. I had no appetite. My stomach hurt every time I ate. I had all kinds of tests. They couldn't find anything. I lost from 37 pounds down to skeletal 29 pounds. And I was slender at 37 pounds. But at 29 pounds, I looked skeletal. And if I tried to eat at my house, my stomach hurt. But if we went to town, like if we went to the next town and got chicken McNuggets, or if I ate at my aunt's house, then I would be okay. And it wouldn't be a problem. So that's what I remember at 5. Fast forward through that, and when I was about 11 years old, I was in 5th grade, and I started having dreams of bleeding children. Little children in old-fashioned clothes, and the blood was down the front of the clothes.
And you
And
think
they
that
were
this
running
was
around saying they didn't want to be cut.
and you think that this was the sacrifice that was going on?
Yes, now I do. I
yeah.
didn't know what they were back then.
How often did you have these images? How often was it like a dream-like state, or did you see it in an actual
It was a dream, and I would have it. It wasn't an everyday thing. It would just be every so often. Maybe every few months. Then we had a period where it was quiet. It would go quiet for a few months or a few years, and then things would happen. I mean, it wasn't stuff continually happening every day when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I do still live in the house.
Yeah, that's
it's
that's the part
cleaned
that I
up.
had a hard time like coming to terms with. We didn't talk for a very long time, but what you did tell me was very surprising when you said that you still lived in the house. I was taken aback by that, but you said it now. There's no longer any problems.
No more problems.
And so after the child, there was a couple stories that we get into though. You told me a couple of things that happened. One to your mother, I believe, and then one to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to get into those?
Yes. So weird things. When I was in my teens, weird things just happened. Like one time, my mom would go on trips. My mom and I would go on trips. And one trip that we took was to Nashville, Tennessee. We were coming back and we wanted to get the scissors and take the tags off of the luggage. So we were looking everywhere for the scissors. And we finally found them in the refrigerator. And one time we found the remote control in the medicine cabinet. And I remember my mom said, "That's a ghost."
Yeah.
And another thing that I didn't mention is back in 1982, when I was 5 years old, my parents had debated whether to send me to school or to keep me home a year and redshirt me, because I was very sick that summer. And there was a report. One of the teachers was married to a police officer, and there was a report that a Satanist group was in town, and they wanted a blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl. Well, I was blue-eyed. I was strawberry blonde, and I was very small and easily portable. They wanted to kidnap her off of the school bus when she was getting onto the school bus. So they changed the policies at my mom's school. My mom had taught third grade. And instead of having one teacher out for bus duty, so the kids, to watch the kids get on the bus and make sure everybody got on the right bus, they had two. One of them was to watch the kids get on the bus, and the other was to call for help. And my mom had to do it a lot because the librarian that was supposed to do it broke her ankle and was on crutches. And that's why my mom had to do it a lot. And my mom was so freaked out by the whole thing that all she could say for a long time was, Mrs. Z broke her ankle. And I remember after hearing that report and my parents talking about how the Satanists wanted to kidnap a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, my mom looked over at me and said, I'm glad we didn't send her to school. And when I was a kid, I dressed in dull clothes. We really tried not to call attention to me. I could never go outside without an adult. My mom gave me a book to read when I was in the grocery store so that people wouldn't see my blue eyes, and that's not normal.
No, not at all. I mean,
But that was my life, and I was a really smart kid. I was a self-taught reader from the age of 2.5, and so I outgrew the kids' books. So my mom gave me Weekly World News and the National Enquirer and the Globe. And I became a Bigfoot fan and a UFO fan and aliens and Loch Ness Monster and fairies and all that.
Fortean subjects. Do you think you gravitated toward that because of the things that went on when you were a kid? You think that you were trying to find answers, or you just were just curious by nature?
Well, I always asked a lot of questions, and I think I was curious by nature. And I know that my grandmother ordered the Time Life books of fairies, dragons, wizards and warlocks, and ghosts. And the mythical beings when she ran out of money and didn't get that one.
One of the things I was going to tell you,
devouring them.
one of the things I was going to tell you, Lee, and I don't know how you feel about this, but like one of the things that I believe that there's a lot of problems with Christians and Muslims and the Abrahamic traditions because they absolutely refuse to look at past lives. It's just something that's inherent within the Abrahamic traditions. They don't believe. And it's taken hold in the West for a long time, whereas the East has been very open to it, and they kind of accept it and understand it. And a lot of people get confused with it. They think that if you accept the idea of past lives in the physical world or physical sense.
There's an echo. It's probably because her speaker is too close to her microphone.
Hold on one second.
Hey, just a minute. We're getting an echo on our end whenever Wolf talks, and that usually happens if you have your volume turned up a little bit too loud, and then what's happening is your microphone is picking up his voice, and we're getting some feedback. So if you wouldn't mind, if there's any way you could turn your volume down a little bit, that way we don't get the echo on our end, that would be great.
Okay. Well,
Can you?
I'm talking to you on my phone.
Okay, she says she's talking to us on her phone.
Is it on speakerphone?
Is it on speaker?
Yes, it's on speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why. Okay, so the speakerphone might be the problem. If you wouldn't
Okay.
mind, if there's a way you could turn the volume down on your speakerphone, that might cut out the echo.
Okay, I can do that.
So, is there still an echo there, Anthony? Can you hear it? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. I'm trying to ask Anthony if he's in the other room trying to listen to see for the echo. So, is there still an echo there, Anthony? Can you hear it? No. So it's better. Okay. So what I was trying to say though is like there's a belief that's taken hold, and I talk about it on this last show I did with Paul Wallace a little bit. We get into it. I don't know if we discuss it in this episode or if we discuss it in the next episode, or it could have even been off air. But I know that I talked to Paul Wallace, and he is a Bible theologian. One of the things that I believe is that we do have past lives. I do believe in Christianity. I do believe in God. I believe in Christ. I believe that He is the way. I do believe there is a heaven and there's a hell. But I also believe that you can get caught up on the wheel, which is, returning. And I think that when Jesus says you must be born again, I believe it's literal. I don't think it's just spiritual. I don't think you just say a prayer and then everything you've done is just forgiven and that's it. It's over and done with, and you don't ever have to pay a penance for that. If that was the case, then people could go out and rob, steal, rape, kill, do whatever kind of sin, murder, abomination, and then just go out and say, okay, I'm sorry, and maybe even be sorry, truly sorry, but there's still a price to pay. I believe that a lot of things can be explained if people would accept the notion that there could be, and whenever somebody starts talking about it, they just start dropping away. People don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it because they want to believe that the King James Version of the Bible is the absolute truth, the absolute Word of God, which I do not believe that. I believe that it has a lot of the Word of God, but I believe it's missing a whole bunch of stuff, and that's just there's no way around that. It's missing a lot of things, and I believe that it's been tampered with and rearranged to fit certain agendas throughout the millennia. And so somebody had said, well, the King James Version is the most tried and true, and blah 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 blah. That is exactly why it's not the correct translation. And Barton Nunley, I think, said it best. He told me one day when we were talking, he said that if the King James Version was the absolute truth, the 100%, then that wouldn't be the book that would be the most popular. It is the most popular for a reason, because there's an agenda behind everything. Everything is agenda driven. And because it is the most popular, that makes sense, because Satan is the god of this world. He's not my God, and I don't serve him, and I don't, I try to, be against his, whatever, as much as I can, his agenda. But I think that the reason we are living in an evil world that is run by our enemies, as a Christian, as a God-fearing person, this world is absolutely run by your enemies. The deck is stacked against you. It's like what we were just talking about, that ball game. And in fact, somebody that said that, let me go ahead and get to that. In Mesoamerica, I looked it up. It was the Mayans and the Aztecs. They both had a version of that. I don't remember the Aztecs ever having that, but apparently now they do. I don't know if that's a Mandela effect or what that is, but apparently they had a ball game like that too. I thought I studied a lot about them, but there was a ball game that they played too. The Mayans played it and the Aztecs played it. They were a little bit different, but it was very hard to get this ball through this little hole way up high. It was turned sideways, not up and down like a basketball. But the deck is stacked against you in that game, because the idea was for them to fail and be killed and sacrificed to Huitzilopochtli or to Kukulkan or whichever one you're talking about, depending on the civilization. The deck is always stacked against you. I used to work a job. I used to get in a lot of fights at this job, and we were always outnumbered. And my guys would always be like, "I just wish for once it could be a fair fight." And I'm like, it is a fair fight because we're better than they are. We always win. People get hurt. People get stabbed. Things happen, but in the end, if you stick together and you do what's right, you'll come out on top. I think that the show Walking Dead is a very good example of that, of people working together to try, people fall and people die and things happen. But in the end, if you stay together, your core unit stays together, that's the best way to survive. And we have to, as Christians, as God-fearing people, we have to wake up. And I'm not talking about being woke. I'm talking about actually being awake, like Matrix awake, and realize that the deck is stacked against us, that this world is the domain of Shaitan or Satan. It is his realm. So if the most popular book that's being touted as the Word of God, that's probably not going to be the correct one. I'm not telling you that there's a lot of good stuff in there, but when you take bunches of chunks of it out and you're left with a shell, you're not getting the full story. Genesis 6 just kind of breezes over, and Nellie, you were saying that the other day. What were you saying? You said, this is why I'm glad you're in the studio.
I said when my sister would read the Bible to me, I would ask her what happened to the giants, because they're, it was like they were there and then they were gone and that was it. And I was like, well, what else was there?
Mm-hmm.
And it just, a lot of it, when you're reading through it, it leaves more questions than answers on certain things in certain parts of the Bible, because you're like, well, what else happened?
Yeah.
But nothing is there.
When there's an entire deal there, when there's an entire, there you go. When there's an entire part of it that's missing, you're going like, well, wait a minute, giants, Nephilim, what is all that? And then you realize that there's an entire book called Enoch that literally is referenced by Christ himself. And you're going like, what is this? And then you look at Jude and you're going like, what's he talking about? And it's just all you're getting are little snippets here and there. I believe that we are born again. I believe we have to be born again, physically born again. Now, there's a passage that says that it is for a man to be born, to live and die. I don't know if you want to look it up, the passage. It says that it is for us to live and die but once. I agree with that. And I was talking to Barton about that the other day. I absolutely agree with that.
Through the many life cycles?
No, what I believe is that it is for me, Josh Turner, in this physical body to live but one time and to die. Okay, and I will die as Josh Turner, and Josh Turner will not rise again and come back. Only Christ did that. And, of course, Lazarus, because he rose him up, because that's all about Christ. If God chose to raise me up from a stone, he could do it. And the passage is Hebrews 9:27. Is that what it is? And it says that it is for a man to live and die but once. But what I believe that means is for you as your individual self, for me, for our guest, for Nellie, for anybody in the audience, your person will die. You will live one time and die. Your spirit can move on to, I believe, into another life. Whether that is a hell realm, a heavenly realm, or to return to this world, which is not really fun either. That depends, and I believe that we've gotten it wrong. And in a lot of ways, it's been taught, by the church fathers. It was just passed down that's how we're supposed to believe. So when something is ingrained in your brain, in your mind, since you were a child, that this is quote unquote the way it is, it's damn near impossible to get somebody to break that and to understand that there's more out there than. I'm being accused, left and right now. I'm leading people astray. I'm going to go to hell. I'm taking people with me. I'm doing all these bad things. I'm getting attacked repeatedly. And it's stepped up pretty bad. This past week was pretty rough. But I knew that was going to happen. And I had to weigh my heart's beliefs. And am I going to take it on the chin? Get punched in the mouth? Yeah. And it's happened and it's happening. But do I believe that I'm speaking the truth? Yes, I do. It is my truth, and it is for you to make up your own minds, what you believe. But I believe what you're saying, Lee, is very possible that there was something that came over from a past life that you brought into this life, because these demons have no right to you. I think it's kind of foolish, honestly. You're going into battle with half the armor on. You're walking in there without a breastplate. You're walking in there with just a knife instead of a sword. And I think it's kind of foolish. You're not putting your helmet on. I'm not talking about you, Lee, but people in general. And I think that when the church fathers and they teach their dogma of, these Satan worshipers or devil worshipers or whatever you want to call them, what they did was they gave you away, to a future generation, a curse. We were talking to a guy the other day. He works in a movie theater. Shout out to Logan. He's a manager of the movie theater. And he was talking about a generational curse that his grandfather had said, look, he had committed his soul to the devil, to Satan or a devil, and had said, you can take any one of my descendants. Not how it works. He may have done that. He may very well have been deceived into believing that he had that kind of power. But I, nor Nellie, nor Anthony, nor you, Lee, or anybody in this audience has the ability, the authority, or the power over anyone else's soul to give or take. And my soul is not for anyone to give or take. You cannot. No matter how hard you try, no matter how many demons you beg and plead and make bargains with, you can kill 1,000 animals to these demons and 1,000 people to these demons. They have no ability or power to give or take my soul. They just can't do it. It's impossible. They can try. They can kill your body. But if God so deems that your soul is free, it's free. And they have no power over it. No one does. Absolutely no one. Except for the Creator and his Son, Jesus Christ. That's it. Those are the only, there's no other way around it. And I think that when people buy into, a generational curse, that you're born under a curse because something you did before, I think the only way that would work is if there was something genetically wrong with you, that you were born under a genetics. And I think that genetics plays a large role in the Old Testament. I think that when it talks about the breeding of man with different types of species of animals and things like that, in Enoch, I think that it's really referring to a lot of genetic tampering. And I believe that a lot of this is genetic. And I think that what we believe of as magical will eventually become science. Does that make sense, Lee?
Yes, it does make sense. I do wonder if it was a generational thing, though.
Well, I mean, it could be, but it doesn't.
If my grandmother made some kind of deal with this thing, because if you think about, if we think about our grandparents, when my grandmother was pregnant with my mother, and we know that a female is born with all of the eggs she will ever have.
Mm-hmm.
So when my grandmother was pregnant with my mother, that would have meant I would have been an egg inside my mother. And my grandmother would have been playing with the Ouija board at the time. So if baby does everything mom does, then prenatally I played with the Ouija board.
Well, I mean, I don't really agree with that. I believe that like I said, and here somebody said something that says Betsy Barnacle says New Testament. There's a scripture about a parent can have their child covered, i.e., dedicated. If not covered by believing parents, you're fair game. Yeah, because that means you're not taught as a child. You're not taught. Now, let me answer that, Betsy, because we're getting into some pretty weird territory. So bear with me, Lee. Betsy, I'm gonna answer that. What I believe that is okay. Say that my parents weren't believers. Say that I was born. I'm born into this world of sin. I'm born as a sinner. We all are. It says in the Bible. It says in pretty much every book you can imagine. It tells you that you're born an evil, because we are by our very nature. We're fighting against our nature, and our nature is to do wrong. But I don't believe that if I was born a certain way that I stay that way. Lee, you're making like noise on your phone. I don't know what that is, but it's.
I don't know what it is either.
It's coming in really loud over here. But I believe that you are born. You're correct. You're born. If your parents aren't believers, then yeah, absolutely, you're born. You're vulnerable. Because no one has, in theory, no one has taught you the gospel. You are susceptible to evil. So you will fall into the world and to the reprobate mind, and you're fair game. There was a Satanist on TV the other day, and he was talking. It was some show we were watching, Nelly, I remember, and the guy said, those that don't believe in curses, what do you say? We call them targets. Yeah, you're fair game. That's absolutely true. But somebody said Doritos bag for sure. No, what I'm here to tell you though is if you find your way to the light and someone comes to you with the gospel, you're saved right there. It covers you in the blood of Christ. You have to plead the blood of Jesus over yourself and everything you hold dear to be safe. I believe that. And I talked to Tony Merkel about it the other day, and Tony was saying, that there was a Satanist that he interviewed. And that guy told him, he goes, I don't know how or why it works, but it works. People like me and Tony know why it works. We absolutely know why it works. We know why it works because the lamb was killed. He was crucified for our sins. So we understand it. We grasp it, but it goes so deep. It's so hard to really make people understand. It's such a vast, deep subject. But then again, it's really not. They try to make it out like it's Chinese arithmetic and it's some sort of like mental gymnastics you have to do to get from point A to point Z. It's not. If you're going through the human brain trying to wrap your mind around it, it's hard. But if you seek it through the Spirit, it becomes very clear. Like I've had dreams where it was like I saw everything clearly, and then I woke up and I'm like, that makes no sense. Because once you're back into the human body, into the human, this soul holder is what it is, you can't understand it. I will live and die as Josh Turner but one time. And I will face whatever judgment I have to face. But that doesn't mean in the meantime that I'm not going to come back and be someone else. I just don't. I totally believe there's a lot of evidence for it. I mean, there are tons of people who are born with memories of their past lives and they have wounds that are, and then the easy, simple answer is those are demons. Demons did that. Demons are making these people believe that because demons are just super smart and they have managed to make everyone believe all that and blah, 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 blah. And they have this super intricate system and it just works really well and whatever. And, I don't know about all that either because, I know by the very nature of evil itself, it's not loyal. It's chaotic. It seeks to destroy and they'll destroy one another. I mean, I had a shaman one time. He was not a good person, was trying to explain to us at a little get together how it worked. He was telling me that he could get a bigger, meaner demon to run off a weaker demon. And I'm like, okay, that is really sad that that's what you feel like you have to do. I just call upon Christ. It seems to work. But I think that a lot of people are completely bamboozled and fooled into, believing these parameters that have been set up by the church from way back, and you're talking about a system that has been put in place to keep you under control, to keep control of you. I didn't plan on the conversation going this way, but I wanted you to be able to come on, Lee, and talk and talk about your book. But you don't have to tell every single thing that happened in your book, because you are trying to sell a book on Amazon, and it seems very interesting what happened to you. So whatever else you would like to bring up and talk about, we can go there. I just wanted to answer some of those questions because we were getting into some deep water, and I wanted to bring us all back to the shore safely, I guess. Dock us.
Yeah. So when my grandmother died, before my grandmother died, this is my grandmother who had played with the Ouija board. And before she died, she indicated that she wanted Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin With Me to be played at her funeral. Well, at the moment that she died, Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin With Me played on the church chimes. And Mom and I went back to the minister and asked, how did this happen? Did you have the hymns set to play in a certain order? Did anybody make it so that particular hymn played that day? And the pastor said, no, nobody has any control over that. It's random. And also, the night that my mother and my aunt were busy picking out Grandma's dress for the funeral, there was a big orb that it was white. It came up to the window, and I put my hand up to the window, and it lit up every vein, every capillary in my hand.
Wow.
My mother saw it too. And then the Satanists were at it again. My mom went up. She said, hey, do you want to go? A few months after Grandma died, she said, hey, do you want to go visit your grandmother in the graveyard? And I just felt like I should really stay home that day. And I said, no, Mom, you can go. I'll just stay here. And then my mom got back and she was freaked out. She had met the devil worshippers, the Satanists, and they were doing a ritual, and they had flipped over tombstones. And they had lit candles and had candle wax dripping down onto the tombstones. And it was up on a hill, and she had to back off the hill. She heard and got back in her car. And while she was like getting her seatbelt on and getting the car locked and stuff, the Satanists all stood around her car. And she had to back off of this steep hill, and she was freaked out when she got home.
Wow. Well, Lee,
And
I'm
then
going. Oh, go ahead.
I had, in 1996, I had scarlet fever, and I could feel that my body was fading away. Some of my body systems were shutting down. I'm not going to be too graphic for your listeners tonight. But it was getting harder to breathe, and so I asked God if I could die. Because I really wanted to see my dad and my grandma. My father had died when I was 14. And I really wanted to see my dad and my grandma Helen again. And God took me out of my body, and he showed me what life would be like for my mother without me. He showed my mother being alone, and he told me, you have to get an education, and you have to take care of your mother, and you're coming back. And he said, you're never going to be this sick again, and never ask me to die again, because when it's time for you to die, you don't have to ask, I will come get you. And I was back into my body, and I soaked the bedclothes. I soaked the bed all the way down to the box springs. And I have a bachelor's and a master's and a doctorate degree. And my mother had Alzheimer's, and I took care of her for a year at home.
Well, Lee, I appreciate you coming on and talking about these things. Where can they find your book at? It's on Amazon, right?
It's not on Amazon. It is on Lulu. It's published by Lulu.
Yeah.
And for some reason, my publisher didn't get it to Amazon.
Can you I'm talking to my moderators. Can you moderators post on here, Lulu? Just put it on there.
It's lulu.com, and I have a link to it.
If you could post that link in the chat, that would be great.
Post the link in the chat. I will do that.
Yeah, and post the link in the Paranormal Round Table group too, also.
And in the Paranormal Round Table group, I can do that.
Yep.
And would you like to hear about my experience with demonic oppression that lasted for a year?
Did you want to tell it that now, or did you want to? I mean, what do you want to? Do you want to do that now?
Do we want to do it now, or do we want to save it until next week?
That's up to you.
If you have aliens.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that too, but we still got another hour and a half left, so go ahead, shoot.
Really? Okay. So I was taking care of my mother, and I noticed that she had Alzheimer's, and she would talk to people who weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
She would barely say a word all day, but yet I would go downstairs to do laundry, and she would have a really animated conversation with what was seemingly thin air. And one day in particular, she had barely moved for the physical therapist all day that day. And she had just barely moved all day, but at about 1 a.m., she was out of bed and swinging her fists, and her eyes were solid black. So she did not have the whites of her eyes. Her eyes were solid black. She was talking. Her mouth was not moving. It was open, but it wasn't moving. And it was a very guttural voice. And it was not her voice. It was more like a growl.
Wow.
And she was saying horrible things like, I'm going to kill you, and swinging her fists. And I would always dodge. She had barely moved, and she hadn't been out of bed that day. And for her to get up like that and go swinging at that hour of the morning, that was so far beyond what she could do normally in her condition. And then all of a sudden, just as quickly as it began, it stopped. She seemed to have a lot more strength than usual and a lot more endurance than usual. Then in 2016, she went to the hospital. While she was at the hospital, I could hear somebody calling my name. I could hear what sounded like her voice calling my name, but she was not home. I was brushing my teeth one night, getting ready for bed, and there was a ball of white light that shot across the foot of my bed. And I was standing there in the hallway brushing my teeth. I was getting my doctorate at the time. I tried to live a normal life. There was one time when I was back in the computer room studying, there was a shadow snake on the wall. The shadow men came back. First, there was one, and he was the only reason that I could see him. He was lit by a weird green light. He was blacker than the darkness, and he was standing out in the hallway. Then I got up and turned on the light, checked everything, made sure all the doors were locked, got back to bed. The second shadow man showed up. And the green that they were lit with was the type of green that was not natural. It would just make you sick to your stomach to see it. I was terrorized throughout 2016. Like footsteps in the hall. I was scratched a lot. The demons told me to kill myself, to put my mother's pills in 3 pudding cups and to kill myself that way, and I wouldn't do it. If I did anything to help out our church, then I knew that I would get it. Like when I helped to serve communion, I ended up getting scratched really bad that night. It would beat on the foot of the bed. One time something smacked across the foot of the bed, and I had a blanket on my bed that a friend had given me, and I had it on, the right way, lengthwise. But in the middle of the night, somehow it got turned crosswise, and it was at the very foot of the bed. And so this went on for a year. There was a wolf whistle from nowhere, no pun intended. It was a wheat woo kind of thing. And all of my cats noticed it. When I had a litter of kittens born, there was scratching in the walls. And I had been given a cross to wear around my neck. It's a blessed cross. I wear it today. And when I turned to face the source of the scratching with the cross, the scratching stopped at that time. If urine was a cloud, I had small clouds of a urine odor that would float from room to room. One morning I was eating breakfast and watching TV, and a ball of smoke, it was together, it didn't dissipate like smoke, wall and went past my head and shot into the wall on the opposite side of the living room.
Wow.
And it was things just every few days.
So why don't we wrap it up here? And you wrote these things in a book, and the name of the book, Lee?
Yes. Yes, the name of the book is The Terror by Night, Not Flesh or Blood.
Okay. And it's available on Lulu.
It's available on lulu.com, and
Okay.
I will post the link into the chat.
Yes, and also on the Paranormal Round Table group.
And on the Paranormal Round Table group.
Yes.
The Facebook group.
Yes, on the Facebook group, yeah. And,
okay, the Facebook group.
Yeah, and so folks, check out her book, and there's a lot more. And we talked. I appreciate you coming on and being a guest, and you definitely gave us food for thought.
Thank you.
And we're going to answer some questions. And we're going to get
I'm
moving.
glad you had me on.
And thank you,
Lee,
Lee, for reaching out to me. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you reached out to me, and I hope your book does well. The book isn't very expensive either. I think it's like what, $12.99, something like that.
$12.99, and they almost always run specials.
Yeah. Okay. So I appreciate it, and thank you for writing that and coming on and talking about some of the things that happened to you. It definitely, I understand about hauntings and things that happen to people. because it happened to me too. So anyways, I will let you go. And thank you for coming on and being a part of the show, folks. That's Lee
Thank you.
Ice. And thank you for listening, everybody. And I will let you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So, what are your thoughts? I mean, there was a whole lot of things being said in the chat that I couldn't really answer. Alleyway. I don't think anybody's arguing, and if somebody is arguing, who cares? People say whatever they're going to say. Ellie Pepper said that green is the color of the underworld, and I'm wearing my green. I'm sitting there going like, I feel like I'm being attacked because I'm wearing green, and I'm going like, I shouldn't have wore the green today. Sorry, I didn't realize I was part of the underworld. My underwear are not green, just so you know. It's not my color, not my thing. But I don't know if anybody else has this or not. But I have. I think it's mild synesthesia, and so I have like numbers or like colors, and I've always associated 4 with green. And then I read that in the East, in particular in China, and in various other the countries of the Orient, China in particular, that they believe that, and this is, when I say Orient, I mean East Asia. And I know that people say, don't call them Oriental because Oriental refers to, but, that was, it used to be to say that was to distinguish them from the Near Easterners. The Far East, which is, China, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Siam, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Malaysia. That is the Far East. It is the culture of the Orient. It is an Oriental culture. Then all of a sudden it became not politically correct to say Oriental, unless you were referring to an object, which muddied the waters when it came to describing people from India as, Asian, because you don't think of them as Asian. You say they're Indian. But in reality, the Indian subcontinent, it consists of Peshwari, Punjabi, Gujarati, Tamil. There's so many different types of cultures there. Kashmir, I mean, there's so many provinces and so many regions that it just blows the mind. They're not all just one race of people. And Pakistan is not a separate race of people from the Indian. They are all one, they're all one Indo-Aryan culture. But they're divided into different groups. Just as China has different provinces, there's different types of Chinese people. There are different types of Indians. I just thought I'd throw that out there because people they get very confused. So anyway, I just trying to explain that. And they also all have very different beliefs, and like a lot of people believe that the Hindi, that the Tamil reject Hindi. They don't have their own. They have their own culture. They don't, and it's in the far southernmost part of India. But they're not considered Oriental. So they're considered Indian. But they themselves consider themselves a different, like each region has its own like culture. So a lot of times when you talk to somebody from India, they're really surprised. What is it? Let me address this really quick. Alleyway, what do you mean you're out? I mean, somebody accused you of hurting someone's feelings. What does it matter? I mean, people accuse me of silly things all the time. I mean, if you feel like you hurt someone's feelings, then I guess leave. But I don't think that it's something that needs to be, does anyone understand what's going on here? Are my admins, my moderators paying attention? Because I don't know what's happening here. Sir Paul said the info you've been dropping on us about the Bible has been mind blowing, Josh. So intriguing, and I still want more. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. There's just so many people though that are either out to troll, out to fight, argue, distort, lie, James Estrada says Ali didn't say anything out of line. I don't think you should leave the chat or because why? I mean, I don't see what you did wrong. I don't know whose feelings you hurt. I mean, someone could clarify that for me. I don't know. Scott Decker says, a fascinating story. I can relate to a few of her experiences. She's got a lot of them. Check out her book. I mean, I think it'd be worth it's not a real expensive book, and she's not trying to make a bunch of money off of it. She has a professional job that she does, and it's not being an author. It was just to talk about what had gone on with her, in her life, and she wanted to share her experiences with everybody. Let's get into this, some of these questions here. Let's see what we got going on. Yeah, it says, I guess Betsy Barnacle. Honestly, this is hurtful. I was trying to talk with you about what you said. Everybody take this back a notch, please. What? I don't understand what the heck's going on here. You guys can say whatever you want in the comment section as long as you're not cursing. You have the right to disagree. If someone hurts your feelings, unless it's absolute bullying, the moderators, that's y'all's job to pay attention to that and read the comments and see what's happening here. And let's get into this. Let me ask you questions here, guys. Let me ask you some questions, the audience. Do you believe that this is a generational curse, that it jumps? Do you believe that you can be born already cursed and given whatever? I believe somebody said something about it being genetic. I believe that. I believe it is genetic. But what I don't believe is that if you were born with a new soul, which has to be the case if you believe the King James Version of the Bible, because it gives you very bare bones, minimum of what is out there. If that's the case, then that is impossible. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're born with a new soul, you have nothing in the past you're a new creation. Why would you be beholden to anything from the past, from what your parents did? Now, your parents could do things like make deals with bad people, and then it could be put upon you. You have to suffer because of what they've done. That's the sins of the parents right there. That's a curse in of itself. But if you're talking about like a curse as in a spiritual curse, that these demons are allowed to attack you and come after you and do bad things to you because your parents were naughty, I don't buy into that. I don't believe that. I just don't. A true loving and merciful God, I don't feel like is going to allow that to happen to innocent people. That's why I don't believe you're innocent, really. I think that it's something that has to do with a past life. You were born, something happened. It has to be. I mean, because I just don't buy into that our God, why would he let that happen? Why would he let demons attack you from the day you're born unless it is to prepare you for something? That could be the case too. Because, according to the Eastern beliefs, almost unanimously, whether it's Hindu, Buddhism, or any, it's almost unanimous that they believe that through suffering you find enlightenment. I wanted to address something somebody said earlier too. And I'm not even going to try to find it. Okay. It's too far back and there's too much that's happened. And no, Chris M., you said something earlier. We're not revisiting that same thing next week. I'm going to try and find this comment. Somebody said something about what I said when I was with Paul Wallace about the three wise men, the Magi. And I don't remember where it was in the comments section, I believe, of the Paul Wallace interview. And also, by the way, we hit 7,000 members in our Paranormal Round Table group at the same, literally maybe like an hour before we hit 16,000 members on YouTube. On YouTube, we are now at 16,000 members. And we're at 7,000 members on Paranormal Round Table group. You want to tell the people about your group, Nellie?
I don't know how many people are in there.
I don't either, but you can tell them about your group.
Paranormal Lounge
Paranormal Lounge.
is on Facebook.
It's on Facebook. Now, I told you I was going to talk about UFOs and aliens, so I'm going to. So anyways, thank you, everybody who helped us reach those numbers. That's awesome. That has been, it's been truly a blessing to be able to sit up here and have 16,000 people subscribe to my YouTube channel, our Paranormal Roundtable YouTube channel, 7,000 members in the Paranormal Roundtable group on Facebook. And another thing, the group, we will be dropping this particular link, and there will be a giveaway for this link too, just like every show. 2 giveaways a week, besides all the special giveaways we do. Like the one that Jim won for guessing the Magnum PI theme song. So I was like, if anybody could tell me this, I was thinking Simon and Simon. And I even had Scorpion there, but because he watches all them ridiculous, crappy cop shows from the 80s, and I thought maybe he would know. But when you need him to know, then he's like, I don't know. But if you're not looking for useless information, he's like an encyclopedia. Seriously, he'll just spit it right out. That was the 18, starring Mr. T from 1986, whatever. He has it's like a encyclopedia. Put him on the spot and ask him, and he's like, yeah. Right, Nellie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
He's the king of bad timing. So, and I know you're in the chat, Scorp. So, it's probably going to pipe up here in a minute, unless you fell asleep again, which you probably did because you're at work. So, fine security. And actually, the people that you're doing security for, one of them watches the show. So I hope you're not sitting there sleeping. You better be awake. You better text him, tell him to be awake. You get another hour and a half on that shift. So, yeah, do a shout out to Michelle. Thank you for being a listener too. If you're watching from My Jewelers, people that custom made this. They custom made these a lot of this jewelry. No, not this one. I got from Jewel. What's it called? At Lakeland Mall. I said I'd give them a shout out. This ring right here.
Gold kiosk.
Yeah, I forgot. It's called Jewel. Oh my gosh, I feel embarrassed. I didn't bring his business card. But him and QT and Round Rock are the only ones I buy from. And everybody pray for them. They're Vietnamese Christians. Their store got hit by an F-250 truck, and somebody tried to break in, and they didn't get anything. The police came and they ran away, but then they came back because they're just that desperate and determined and stupid. Nobody said criminals were always smart. They're just idiots. But now we're having to guard their business, and they're good people. They've always been very good people. They helped me when I didn't have a lot of money to get the ring that I wanted to get for my beautiful wife. And then she took that very nice and expensive ring and quit wearing it and started wearing a little old junky ring that I do not like. Okay, I will. This is the ring that she chooses to wear. Let me see if I can get a good angle on this. Is the ring she chooses to wear on her finger. This isn't the one I got her for her engagement, because the engagement ring, and then there's the wedding ring on there, which is very beautiful. And then she goes and gets this old timey looking thing from Lord of the Rings. I think Gollum had this. My precious. I think he had it up his butt or something for years. And it fell out, and he was, oh no, he's looking for it. He's probably still looking for it. We should probably throw this in Mordor. But anyway, whatever. I don't like it because she went and picked out that whatever. So I you know, but they made me a new wedding ring that can look better than the wedding band I had, because I think guys just kind of don't care about jewelry a lot of times, and they put the band on there, just any old kind of junky band, you know. I love my mechanic; he's a good guy. But I was looking at his wedding band today, and I thought, oh my gosh, it was a little round piece of black tungsten or something. It just was not. It doesn't look good. I mean, it just looks like, oh, I'm married. Yeah, it sucks. You know, that's kind of what it looks like. So I had just a regular band on there, so I had to go and get it, you know, touched up and get it done. You know, I buy gold because I believe that when something happens, it's going to be the currency at some point. It's very possible. So I believe that it has a value that's going to stay, has staying power. It's been just steadily, you know, 1,800 to 2,000, per ounce. And so I believe at some point all this jewelry could just be melted down into nuggets that I have to use to survive. So I wear part of my investment. And I buy gold bullion all the time. I have bunches and pounds of silver put away because you never know. The instability of the world today, you should probably stockpile those things amongst other things. But what do I know? Anyway, Chris M. asked, says, Wolf, you touched on granny witches with Barton. I didn't touch no granny witches. Ooh, that's gross. What are you talking about? The only woman I touch is my wife. And that's very, very rare when she lets me. The other day I touched her shoulder. She's like, oh, a spider. And it was just my hand. She was so not used to me touching her that she smacked me. I'm just joking. Me and my wife are very affectionate, just not in public like we saw the other day. It was not pleasant. No, my wife and me are very close. Garlic is alkaline. Garlic actually has a chemical compound in it called allicin. Let me give you a little a tip. Don't cook it, because when you cook garlic, you destroy the allicin compound, which is antiviral. So eating garlic raw, once you make your food, now if you want just for the flavoring, put the garlic in a sauce or saute, whatever you're trying to do. But the best way to get the full effect of the allicin that's in it is to not cook it, because you'll destroy it. You'll break down the compound of it. So what you want to do is when you're done, you know, if you use it for flavoring, that's fine. But when you're done cooking or making something, add minced raw garlic to it, and you will get the allicin that is actually antiviral and antimicrobial. And Rochelle says silver and garlic inside. Yes, you're actually correct. Silver. But silver is not harmless. Okay? If you take too much, it can really mess up your liver or your kidneys, and it can also turn you blue like a Smurf's behind. You don't want to be walking around going like, well, Papa Smurf says, you know, because, you know, then you're just annoying. But yeah, and so yeah, and it says funny. She says evil does not, or it's Rochelle. I'm assuming you're a female. It says evil does not like alkaline. Do we know that? I know that silver and gold are conductors. They break, and it also can break up or add to electromagnetic charges. Gold is way more powerful than silver. A lot of people swear by silver, but it was because common people had an easier time getting a hold of silver than they did gold. Gold is way more rare. I mean, super way more rare. Silver is selling at an all-time high, and I think it's like $27 an ounce or something. Gold, by contrast, is like almost $2,000 an ounce. Do the math. So yeah, putting silver. People say if you put silver in milk, I've never tried this, but I've read it, I've heard of it, that it won't curdle, it won't go bad. And I know that I took colloidal silver in very small amounts when I had COVID, and I put it in my throat, and it seemed to help me. And I think maybe it did help me get well quicker. I took colloidal silver, but I didn't take it in large amounts. Yeah, and Bella says, stack your resources, garlic, gold, silver, and diamonds. I would agree with the first three. Diamonds, not so much. The only diamonds I have are right here on my wedding band. I don't subscribe to it because it's not rare. Diamonds are not rare. Look it up. They're not. It's an artificial thing. The diamonds are artificial shortage. They'll take a diamond and they'll put it away and then they'll let them out a little bit at a time to keep them rare. But it's very much man-made. It's controlled by man. Do you want to talk about that, honey? Do you see what Elastic Machinery just posted on there? You said you heard the story.
I heard that same story.
Elastic Machinery. Okay. I'm going to tell you this. My wife told me this story the other day. Tell her the story.
It's exactly what he wrote.
But I want you to tell it.
Just that I heard from Jehovah's Witnesses that a Smurf doll I guess they were singing in the church, and the Smurf dolls got up and walked out of the church.
Yeah,
that's what they said.
Yeah, it's like an urban legend now at this point. My brother, somebody asked earlier about Satanists, and they're like, I don't know where these Satanists are. There's a whole village of them. That's kind of how I feel about these Nazis. I'm like, they're everywhere. Nazis are everywhere. I've never met one. Where are they? Because I'm still looking for them. I'm like, really? Supposedly they're just all over the place doing all kinds of horrific things, and I'm still baffled by that. I've dealt with racism, being half Mexican, half white. To Mexicans, I was white boy, and to some white people, they called me, half breed, things like that. So I did deal with racism growing up. I'm a child of the 70s. I grew up, and whatever, and I don't really see all this oppression. I mean, I'm out in the public all the time. And I think a lot of it is just, contrived. But it does exist. It does happen. But I'm not saying that it's, but there are Satanists. Now that there are a lot of. I've actually met probably at least a couple dozen just in my day-to-day dealings in my life. I've come across them. One was actually a very nice guy who used to stop by my job site, and he would always offer me food and stuff, and I wouldn't take it. And yes, it was because he was a Satanist. I'm not trying to be rude or mean or anything, but I'm like, I'm just not going to do that. I did offer him food, so I guess he just wanted to return the favor. Eric Garcia, thank you for that donation. Only our second of the night. We must really suck tonight, but whatever. It is what it is. But there are a lot of Satanists. Chris M. I should talk about how many in their town. Well, here's the thing, Chris. My brother was one. and he made a bad situation a lot worse in my house that we used to live in. I forgive him. He gave his life over to the Lord and stopped. So yeah, I mean, but they do exist. Have I ever met a white nationalist, white supremacist? Yes, I have. How many? 2 in my entire life. I met 2. They were very nice to me. They didn't call me names or anything like that. But again, I am not a normal sized human being. So maybe they thought maybe that we shouldn't say these things to him. You know, once you get to a certain point in your life, people tend to stop being too aggressive. Although, you know, people would walk into my club and they would start drinking and it was time to go. They'd be like, I don't care. Well, I'll fight the devil. Whatever. What I was trying to say earlier, I wanted to clarify this to make sure everybody understands we're on the same page here. What I want everybody to know is I do believe in Christ. I know that my beliefs are not completely orthodox. I don't mean Christian orthodox, you know, but I don't mean Catholic or Protestant. I'm just saying I've come to these conclusions of what I've gone through and what I've seen and what I know to be true. I know that it explains a lot if we would look to the East and start to realize that Jesus did go to the East. And thank you, Taylor, for that. He was gone for 20 years. In the Bible, we have no record of him, but yet there are records of him from Tibet all the way to Japan. They have records of him in India. You know, I mean, there are. How is it that the East knows of Jesus, but we here in the West just cannot wrap our minds around? All we got is the King James version of the Bible. And like I said before, you got to question it, because if it is the most popular, then is it the best? Because what is popular and what is being given to us and being fed to us is not really necessarily what's good. Look at the Super Bowl halftime shows. Think about it. And I'm not going to go into a whole diatribe, but just you come to your own conclusions. You look at what's being touted as what's good and what's acceptable and what is correct. And then you use your brain, use common sense, and break it down and tell me if you think that what is being fed to us on a daily basis is what is good. I'm not saying that you can't read the King James Version of the Bible and glean a lot of good information out of it, because there is. But I don't believe that the Quran or the Bible, the King James Version anyway, or any of these other books are complete. I argued with a friend of mine who's Islamic. He's a really good friend of mine, and we argue all the time. And he said, he tried to tell me that there was no slavery because Islam didn't believe in slavery. And then I was like, that's absolutely not correct. The Fulani in Africa were the biggest slavers in the entire world. How do you think they got to the New World, the Africans? The Fulani brought them to Zanzibar and all these other drop-off points, the tribes that they captured in battle, and they were Muslims, and they sold them to other Muslims who sold them to Jewish slavers, typically, that brought them over to the New World, Portuguese and Dutch. And then they sold them to the Europeans that were here in the New World. This isn't popular. It's not a cool thing to think about, but that's what happened. And he tried to tell me there was no slave. I said, dude, not only that, but the Turkish slave trade was big time for a long time, and it went on into the 1800s, right up until the World War I, even almost. It was pretty much slavery. Janissaries were pretty much slave children that were taught to be warriors, soldiers for the Ottoman Empire. So when you look at the Quran, it says you're not supposed to have slaves, but yet there are all these Muslim countries that did it. We weren't supposed to have slaves as Christians, but we did it. I mean, it's just what it is, But we're not being taught truth We're not being taught history, and when you try to tell the truth and teach history, well, you get chastised. I mean, there's a lot of dark things. It's always one-sided too. Not attacking Native Americans. I love Native American people. My grandmother was one. But there was a lot going on here before we got here. Entire civilizations wiped out by genocide by other tribes. Other tribes showed up, said, you know what? I like what you have. I'm going to take it. And they did. And they destroyed everybody. It's not a popular thing to think about, but if I feel like I'm doing you a disservice, my listeners, if I sit up here and sugarcoat to you and lie to you. We have to be able to swallow the hard truths. If we don't, and we just keep feeding ourselves these softball nuggets of goodness, whatever, and we don't, then we're going to easily choke on the hard ones, because it's just, you're not going to be able to digest it, because you've just been so softened by this, and that's the problem, And so, anyways, I'm not going to get into a long dissertation on that. One thing I wanted to talk about, though, over the weekend, this past weekend, we did get some weird reports. I had a friend of mine, she posted on her Facebook about seeing a weird craft. When I got into it with her about it, we didn't fight. We didn't go, hey, well, what are you talking about? No. When we got into a little discussion about it on her Facebook, it was basically her and her aunt were driving from Lockhart to Seguin, which is right outside of Austin. Now, that corridor, I've gotten other reports in that area. Seguin, Lockhart, all the way to New Braunfels and back down up into Austin, going up into San Antonio. It's all part of Central Texas. Now, that's South Central Texas, which to me, Central Texas ends in San Antonio. South of San Antonio, San Antonio is the gateway to the south. So from there down, it's pretty much South Texas. From here to San Antonio is Central Texas. We have a long history of UFO reports in this Central Texas. One of the things that we were told recently was that this woman and her aunt's very close to her age too. She's only a few years older than her. That they encountered a craft that went over the top of their vehicle and shined like a bluish like light that just encompassed the vehicle very quickly, and then it was like, pew, and it was gone. For those of you who didn't see it, I will do a reenactment. It was gone. I did that so succinctly that you thought that I was just rewinding it and redoing it. I know what you were thinking. And now it's happening again and again and again, and it's echoing into the multiverse. And now it's happening again and again and again, and it's echoing into the multiverse. So anyways, that being said, my wife's looking at me like I'm crazy. My wife's looking at me like I'm crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, that being said, I'm messing with you, folks. I'm messing with you. That being said, it's crazy because, like, they said that it turned into like a blur, like it was pew, and it was gone. Now on that track I have gotten at least half a dozen reports in the last few years. Why it likes to go up and down that area, I have no idea. Here's another one. Now that happened Friday night. Here's another one. Happened Sunday night. Okay. Now I don't know why these people were out driving around on Sunday night. Normal people stay at home on a Sunday night and relax and prepare for the weekend or for the week. Okay. And they recover from their binges of alcohol and booze. And then they go to church and repent for all that. And then at night they watch football. This is what normal people do, I'm assuming. But then you know what they say about assuming. Anyways, I don't know what they were doing out on a Sunday night, but these crazy people were doing this. They were out driving around, and I'm just joking. Y'all know that. Anyway, they were driving, and what happened was something went over their vehicle really quickly, and they saw like the shadow of it or something, you know, like it was darker than dark, and there was like lights. This thing went, according to them, under an overpass. It was late at night. It was like 3 a.m. And there you go, 3 a.m. You shouldn't be out at 3 a.m. anyway. Unless you're me and you check on your guards, trying to catch them sleeping. Scorp, you better wake up, because I haven't seen anything from you in the past, I don't know how long. So anyways, it went under an overpass, and then it went up. When they passed over the overpass, it came back down, went over the top of their vehicle. This was right outside of Del Valle, and at first they thought it was a type of aircraft. But it was silent. All this happened like it was completely silent. It was a small triangular craft that had 4 lights underneath it. Okay, they were white. When they looked up, they saw like a circle, like kind of moving underneath it. I have no idea what that is. But it was black. But they said when they went under it, they could see that it was black, but it kind of was like a weird off, like you could tell that there was a vehicle there. It wasn't like as black as the sky, black, whatever. It was a different color. They could see it. And so then Loki just told Scorp, yeah, wake up, Scorp. We know there he is. I'm awake. Yeah, sure you are. You get abducted out there, boy. You better watch it. So anyways, Loki's a private joke in the DVD. That's a private joke. Bugs, you better wake up. That's all I know. So the craft went underneath, and I know exactly where this is at. This was like on 183, okay? Which isn't that far if you go further down to Lockhart, about 28 miles the other way from where they were at. I believe it was 26, 28 miles from the other sighting. And the craft looked very similar to the first one. Probably, I saw it. So Scorp's like, really? Yes, really, Scorp. Stop trying to interrupt the story. God, talking about aliens, UFOs, and you're over there sleeping. The point is that that I think, in my opinion, and my professional opinion, I think it's the same craft. I don't think it's a coincidence. And then I had one out of Buda that was very similar. It was a triangle, but they said it was kind of like spinning. Same thing with the weird blue light. I don't know, I don't know. But I was gearing up to do a show about an entire show just about UFOs and aliens. And here's a creepy thing I want to tell you. Okay. I got a report out of Del Valle, that same area. That's a really gross town. It's where Bergstrom Airport, the airport is. When you first fly into Austin, you think you've landed in a cow patty, just flat smack dab in cow crap, because it stinks. The whole city stinks. I'm sorry, Del Valle, but you smell. You smell terrible. You smell like somebody who's been laying sheetrock for 60 years who's never bathed. And you get out and you're going like, God, whoa, Austin stinks. Because Austin has a bad habit of just trying to make themselves look bad. It's a very beautiful place, right, Nellie? But they take 1 step forward and 2 steps back. You know what would be a great idea? Let's get all the homeless people and put them under the overpasses and just let them build houses out of, Legos and pitch tents. That would be cool. And then let's take the largest entertainment district in the entire country and let's put like some homeless shelters there and give them all drugs. And then let them wander around and assault people. I think that would be a good idea. There's a city council. Meeting adjourned. Now, I've never been to a city council meeting. But I'm thinking this is probably what happens. And then they're like, we got to do something for the homeless people. Let's just let them have everything. Let them walk around. That's probably what's going on. And then some, you know what? Let the homeless people have it. Mr. Councilman, have what? Whatever, man. Just whatever they can find. The flotsam and jetsam in the river, and they can just pull it on the shore and build some stuff and just live there. Poop, pee, do whatever they want to do. Beg for stab, whatever. You know, that's kind of what they did, because that's Austin. Let's keep it weird. Let's keep it weird to the point of just making you want to vomit. Thank you, Austin. We have to make this city this certain way, comrade. That's Austin in a nutshell right there, folks. So anyway, they put the airport in the stinkiest place ever because it makes sense. I guess that was where the Air Force base was. So now when you fly into Austin, you think that you have landed in our garbage dump, which you in essence have, because there is actually a landfill right behind it. Not far away. So that's what's going on in Austin. And then you have, like I said, you have stabbings and shootings and just left and right. Crime is up 71% because we voted to not have cops. So now we don't have those either. Those are just right out. Those annoying, pesky cops that just tell you to stop killing people or robbing them. So now it's kind of up to us. In the private sector, we've sort of become the de facto law in a lot of places because we're the only law in a lot of places. And the police are just flat out, like my friend at his club a couple weekends ago, there was just a savage beating taking place. And they were like, well, is anybody dead? No. Well, we're not going to be there. Okay. Yeah. See ya. So, yeah. So that's what's going on. It's nice. But you know, I can't sit here and tell you, you know, that I don't love my city, even though I'm fleeing it, according to a friend of mine. He says, you're fleeing the city, you're going into the suburbs or whatever. You know, I'm going out to the lake area to get away from the crime because I already have to come and be around it all the time for my job. Why would I want to live amongst it too? Okay. I don't want to walk outside anymore and see people pooping in my parking lot. What's wrong with that? Call me crazy, but it's just something I'm not into. I'm just not into that. I'm not feeling the vibe. Or someone pooping in the laundromat, which was happening the other day. Or someone laying down in front of the sprinklers to sort of take a bath, which I think is what they were doing. I thought that's what they were doing. Turned out they weren't. They actually lived there, but they were laying down in the sprinklers. And you could see why it started a problem because I'm like, what are you doing? Do you live here? And this guy's like, I live up there. And I'm like, then why are you bathing out here? It's just, you know. So that's what's going on. So the airport is over there, but the airport used to be on the east side, which was the really bad crime-riddled area. And so they said, well, we're going to move the airport out of the crime-riddled bad area out to another crime-riddled bad area that really smells awful. Because that makes a lot of sense, right? And then we're going to take all that land that once was the airport and we're going to build a bunch of houses out there. And we're going to move people into the area that was crime-riddled, that's still crime-riddled, but now you're living in an expensive house there. So the crime people know where to go to break in. Yeah, I know, because we guarded it when they were building it. And you want to talk about problems. Oh, yeah, there were some problems. I had a guy walk up and just say, hey, I'm going to borrow some of this wood. I was working for Standard Pacific. And I was sitting there with Zane, and I was like, excuse me? Zane used to have problems back then, and I had him doing his homework in the truck with me. He's in there doing his homework, and he's probably like 17 or something. I'm like 16. I said, what are you doing, sir? This guy's like, I'm going to borrow some of this wood. So I politely told him that I was going to borrow his butt with my boot temporarily. Oh, yeah? Yeah, absolutely. That's how this is going to go down. You put those wood planks down or there's going to be an issue. But back then, you could call the police and be like, hey, this guy's trying to boost this stuff, and they would eventually come and they would do something. Now you're just kind of on your own. I'm not kidding. This is what's going on. So, we're getting calls left and right. There's no shortage of work. I have as much work as I can get people. The problem, though, is that people don't want to do it because it is becoming more dangerous. Because now the police ain't always going to come help you. So you got to take your chances. So you got to have some tough people who can, they can handle it. Because now more than ever, it's become a more dangerous job. You have to be able to stop them from stealing your client's property, because you can't depend on the police to come and help you and back you up, because they don't have the manpower now. It's true. We decided to dump the police, and now you're reaping what you sow. I'm fine. A lot of these jackholes that decided to do this, I don't know what you're going to do. Better work on your punching abilities and shooting abilities, or whatever it is that because I see people out there with arms this big around, scared, PTSD if you hear a gun go off. Oh my gosh, that's not my double latte that, with soy milk. What am I going to do? I don't know. But when things get really bad, I'm going to come take it from you. So these people, they're all like, defund the police. Yeah. Woo-hoo. Yeah. Woo-woo. Have you looked in the mirror? Have you seen yourself? I'm not trying to say you are a target, but you look like a target. I'm just saying. And me and my friends are probably just going to go, I don't have to do much. I could just take it from this dude who's scared of loud noises and who looks like he's never lifted anything over 20 pounds in his life. Probably doesn't get much protein either. So, anyway, the airport was right there. Those were not planes. These quiet, triangular-shaped craft that people keep seeing. There was a story that I got out of Del Valle several years ago. And these people, this girl, she was 17 at the time. She's like in her mid-20s now, but she woke up to a bright light going through her house. She goes outside, or she goes to the back door, looks out the back. This is in Del Valle, right outside of Del Valle. And she thought, oh, that airplane's flying low, but there's no sound. She was on the phone with her friend. She was the only one awake in the house. She witnessed something moving around the backyard. It scared her. She went to try to wake up her mother. Couldn't wake her up. Tried to wake up her sister. Couldn't wake her up. She goes out there to the back, and she sees these two tall, alien-looking creatures walking through the backyard and out the fence. She said they had big black eyes, and she couldn't see a mouth or a nose or whatever. She described them almost as like that they were wearing suits. They were silver. Very weird. So you got to wonder, like, what is that? What's going on in Del Valle? What's going on in this whole corridor on the east side where we're, through that whole corridor going into Buda, Kyle, up into New Braunfels, Seguin, Lockhart. The stories that I hear every once in a while, I'll hear a story, and it's weird. It is very weird. You give me your thoughts. And if you're from this area and you have a report of a UFO or aliens or anything like humanoids, we are still going to do a show with Albert Rosales. I got to record with him. I got to record with Kenny Irish. I need to get on there and do that. It looks like he may actually become the host of the Coast to Coast podcast, believe it or not. So, Chris, thank you for that donation. But you got a lot of people to record with that I'm trying to coordinate. I've got to get the time. It's just a matter of getting the time. I spoke with David the other day, David Weatherly. I was going to do a show with him and Nick Redfern. We were on the phone for like an hour. I always like talking to Dave. He's a good friend of mine. But it's just like, we just have to get, the time. But, and Amy, you don't have to donate. Nobody has to donate. Okay. Let me tell you what happens if you don't donate. Nothing. Absolutely nothing happens. I just hate you. That's it. That's all. Okay. So Amy, I'm going to preemptively hate you this week. All right. But next week, okay, I'm going to like you again. I start over every week. I'm like a dog. I forget. And I think you're all dead. And then you come back to life when I see you in the live chat. Okay. I have a short memory. I forgive because I don't remember you. It's part of this werewolf Canaan brain I have. I'm just kidding, and please don't take that seriously because I'm getting tired of being accused of being a lycanthrope. Like it's a bad thing. I'm joking. Well, address him. You got a microphone right there. Here, look. Two turntables and a microphone. Nothing is free, Chris. It comes from the taxpayers. Joseph, you tell them. You're absolutely correct. Nothing is free. Gray Matter 24. Yes, you were absolutely correct. I agree. So, folks, anyways, that's it. I'm gonna stop right there. I got a bunch of stuff I got to do. I got to run a key up north. Oh no, wait, we got to go south. I got to pick up Scorp, wake him up, pick him up, dust him off, get him home, and then we got to run a key down south. And it is not the fabled cursed key, but that key is now MIA again. Nellie can't stand that key.
Nope.
But there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, you can throw it into the fires of Mordor and it'll return. I would like to throw it in the fires of Mordor along with Nellie's ring. No. I think the one I bought her is better. We're going to bring the other one that I bought her, the wedding ring that I bought, and we'll compare. You guys can be the judge.
You bought both of them.
Yeah, but I reluctantly bought that one because I thought it was ugly. Ugly things shouldn't cost money. I've seen men and women with ugly partners. I mean, absolutely ugly people, and they're buying them all kinds of stuff. And you're like, ugly should not cost. Ugly should be free. That's why we got Baby. Wasn't Baby? She cost you money. She is an ugly little gargoyle dog, but I love her to death.
She was a rescue.
She's a sweet little dog. And when you walk in the house, she has to pick up something. She looks around. She's like, oh no, they're here. What do I do? And she just grabs whatever she can.
This is more like it.
Yeah, she'll pick up a napkin. Yeah, and she'll grab whatever she can, and she'll put it in her mouth so she can impress you, even if it's a turd. She'll be like, "Hey, here's a valuable object that I found on the ground. I made it myself. Here it is." And I go, "Oh, baby, that's wonderful. Awesome. Thank you for bringing me that piece of crap, literally. Or that half a cheese doodle. Or recycled cheese doodle. Whatever it is that you've..."
It's just bringing you tidings.
She's a good dog, but she is ugly. And I don't know why you would pay for ugly. You shouldn't have to pay for ugly. I try to be semi-decent to look at, like the little cherub cheeks. You're like, oh, look at those cheeks. So give me a little something, not totally hideous. People were talking how ugly I was in the comments, so I was like, geez. It's like, yeah, they just really don't like me. Well, I guess if I talk like this and I just, and I just try to put you to sleep, and people would like you more, fake. I'm going to say something. My mother, God rest her soul, I love my mother. But I'll say this. There was one thing she always did that it bugged the crap out of me, and I was talking to one of my sisters about it, the good one, not the one that stole her life insurance. The other one, Anthony's mom. And we were talking about this at dinner the other day, and I said, there was one thing that always bothered me about my mother is that she liked flatterers. Somebody could not be honest and they could just flatter her, and she was like she didn't want to deal with it. She'd rather have that kind of person than a real person that would tell her, hey, you're not healthy. This isn't correct the way that you're living your life. And when I tried to tell her, you're unhealthy, this isn't correct the way you're living your life, she would get angry. And ultimately, what ends up happening is you die. She passed away because she was unhealthy and she didn't live her life correctly. And I just couldn't, it killed me to sit there and watch her die. A part of me has, it's like it's gone. You know what I mean? But I told her the things that needed to be said. I told my mother, this isn't correct. But she would rather have listened to people who would tell her the things that sounded good. People would always rather hear a lie than the truth. I'm going to answer your question there. It says, no. I was just going to say no. Anyways, it always bothered me because I just thought, you know what? I'm not okay with that. If my mother would have been able to take the people that actually cared about her and listen to them, she would still be alive. Instead of listening to people who didn't care, they're just going to tell you what they think you want to hear. They put on airs, they put on a facade, pretend to be something that they're not. And it seems like people as a majority are okay with that. That's what politics is, what it is. Who can get up there and lie the best? Who can be the biggest phony? And then you vote for that biggest phony that you like. You vote for the phony you like the best, who tells you what you want to hear. You know he's not going to do it, or she. You should know that. Then you're disillusioned after you vote for them. There's all these people that are angry at our president. Same thing happened with the last guy. I voted for him, and there's no unicorns, pooping rainbow ice cream for us to eat. It's just not happening. Yeah, you're right. Because it's not how it works. In our system, one person doesn't really have the power to do all that. Unless they get in there and they just sign a bunch of executive orders, which should be considered tyranny. But I try not to get into politics, but it's pretty awful. What we've been dealing with the last 60 years has just been unreal. I think since Kennedy and then Nixon, there's been nothing but garbage. Nobody, and everybody says Nixon, he was terrible. Nixon wasn't a bad president if you really know history. And they set him up because they couldn't kill him because they'd already done it to another one. And Nixon was going to ask, well, he was already asking hard questions. He was wanting to know things that they didn't want him to know. And who knows how much trouble I'll get into for anything I may have said today, because truth is the truth. So anyways, folks, somebody told me in one of those threads on that group that I was in where they were attacking me, they said that I I give way too much of my personal life. I believe you're supposed to. I believe that's what makes you a real person. I believe that's what makes a good talk show host. Is somebody who gives you a little bit of themselves every day, or every time they're in front of the microphone, they give you a little bit of something. You get the real me. This isn't a facade. This isn't a fake Mr. Rogers voice. This is just who I am. So, anyways, God bless you all. I love you. Thank you for showing up. And I really do love you. I really do care about you. I care about people very strongly and deeply. My wife can attest to that.
Yes, we all do.
We do. We care about our listeners. You know, I'm not one of those people that once you've been on my show, I don't care about you anymore. Well, I got what I needed from you. Goodbye. No, I see Dick Richards in here. He was on my show. Yeah. So, you know, I try to stay friends and stay in touch with everybody, but there are 3 different people that have been on my show that I don't really talk to. One of them because they espoused like sympathy for a person who was just awful, evil person, Aleister Crowley. So we had fundamental differences. Another one espoused sympathy for the devil. And the other one might as well be a devil the way he acts. So yeah, there's only about 3 people that I don't talk to and all my old guests. I'm still friends with them. I try to stay in touch with everybody and give as much of myself as I can. That's why I do the giveaways. It's to promote the show, but also because I care. I love seeing people like a guy. Did you see the video? I sent you the video.
Oh yeah, the PRT shirts.
Yeah. He got the book from the Inhumanoids. He was over the moon.
That was so cool that he videoed it for us.
You guys want to video yourselves opening the boxes and putting them on the PRT group? That's cool too. I mean, people are taking pictures and putting them on there. I didn't start that. I never asked anybody to do that, but it's cool that people do. It's kind of a trend. But not all the prizes are equal. So I don't want people to go, hey, I didn't get that, because it depends on the giveaway. It's all different. Not everybody's is the same. And some people I just like more than others. And you're just going to get something better than that other person. I'm kidding. What's messed up is that some of the people, there was a little gap there where you didn't get stickers, PRT stickers. And I'm truly sorry about that. I feel bad because they stole them. They broke into my truck, right?
It was crazy.
I had a 20-ounce. Okay, now I got to go back and tell the insurance lady because we actually found it.
Mm-hmm.
They had a 20-ounce bar of silver. They didn't take it.
Because it wasn't in the truck.
It was in the truck.
Oh, was it?
One of them was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't take it. They didn't take the $480 watch. They didn't take a $125 flashlight or $130 flashlight, and they didn't take the
sunglasses.
My $160 sunglasses, which I wouldn't pay $160 for sunglasses. Somebody else probably would, but not me. They were on sale, but still, they cost $160 if you go to try to buy them at Dillard's or Macy's or whatever. They're $160 unless you can find them on clearance like I do. If you can find some stuff on clearance at Dillard's, dude, I'm telling you, man, I bought some of those like Hawaiian shirts. What'd I pay, like $8 or something for one of them?
The ones
the Hawaiian shirts at Dillard's. Yeah. It was unbelievable. I was like, dude,
nice sale.
Heck yeah. And then I saw one that was like, I saw something go $60. Like, wait, what is that? It's $60. What is the $60? Guy goes, well, this shirt here. I was like, I threw that one out. The guy goes, can you not throw things on the floor, sir? I'm like, you were correct. That was not polite. I don't like to do things that way. However, I'm not going to pick that up. And he says, yes, you are. I said, yes, I am. And as soon as I paid for my stuff, I said, bye, sucker. And I left. Then my wife picked it up and gave it to him because I knew she would. Because she's weak like that. She gives in to the dark side. Anyways, no, that's not what happened. I was like, I don't want that one. That one is not gonna happen.
Don't put that in the bag.
I had a big old pile of stuff, like not even $200, and it was like, dude, people go to Marshalls to
Yeah,
buy
the-
stuff that has off sleeves and stuff. That's all. When you could just go directly to Macy's or Dillard's whenever something new stuff comes in, they act like the old stuff is time to be thrown in the trash or something. So you're kind of dumpster diving with their sales, but I mean, dude, you get good deals. That's how I shop. Like my truck, I bought my truck in late October of 2015. And it was the last one on the lot. Because all the 2016s had come in, and I'm like, no, I want that one. They're like, yeah, but these other ones. I was like, can you shut up? I want that one. That's the one I want, because that one is going on sale because you want to get rid of it so all the idiots can go and buy the 2016. That's like the people that run out and buy the video game systems that when they first come out. Y'all are dumb. Or you go get the newest phone when it comes out. You're dumb. Because it's gonna have problems. It's gonna blow up or some shit. Excuse my language. But that's what's gonna happen. This is something bad's gonna. It's like, you know, oh yeah, look at that. What was it on the 360? The Red Ring of Death or something? Like it was. And I was like, yeah, that's what you get. I bought mine like way after. It wasn't that. It was Anthony's, but I bought one for him. You know. And it was already. Anyways, that's all we have for tonight, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody, I see everybody. Lene Perkins, Chris Clough. Gray Matter says I need hip stores more often. Yeah, you do. Cassidy Rose, what's up? You're just not showing up, Cassidy? The show's over. Again, better late than never. No, that's not better. No, it's not. Absolutely not.
You should give her one story. She's here.
She says she wants a story. I got a story for you. There was once a girl named Cassie that showed up late and missed at the end. All right. I'll see you guys, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. And don't forget this Friday, part 2 with Paul Wallace. I almost said Paul Sinclair because I interviewed him too, but Paul Wallace. And somebody says Island Boys. Because I'm an island boy. I need to put like finger paint all over my face. Put my hair up like Rugrats. Let me see.
Yeah, sing.
I can't even do it. I can't even make my hair that bad. How do you do it?
Yeah, sing.
You gotta have the grill. In your island boy. Full guy sing. Scrawny and weird. Malnutrition. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. But thank you, though, my friend that sent me that and got it stuck in my head as I was singing it in the shower. Island boy. My wife comes in there, she's laughing because I couldn't get it out of my head. I was making up my own lyrics to it because I was so grossed out and so angry that it was stuck in my head with these pineapple head kids with their grills and their disgusting, like, just tattoos all over their, just covering their face and their bodies. Where are your parents at? Where are the parents? Shame on you, mom and dad, that you don't just beat these kids. And you know what? They're so horrible. Why would you unleash these kids on us? I don't even know if they're kids, probably in their 20s or something now. Okay? They need to go to jail. Because they haven't committed a crime, they're probably going to, their kids are going to commit a crime, so just send them to jail. Put them in jail, and they can sing in jail. Where those people did bad things that deserve to have to hear that. They should make their mom and dad sit there and listen to them sing off of key a cappella all day long. That's what they need to do. It's horrible. Freaking, terrible. It's Can't believe it's not butter. I can believe it's butter because it looks like it's all over their teeth. Good night. Island boy.